back and bigger than ever. It's the Unofficial 40 from SoonerScoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, welcome back. It is the Unofficial 40 podcast right here from SoonerScoop.com. And boy, we are glad to be back. We had last week off. Well, we didn't have it off. We were just very, very busy. We had OU Pro Day. I've been stuck in the office doing security systems and networking, and the guys were going to Under Armour over the weekend. We had Isaiah Thomas's charity giveaway at the Tulsa Boys Home. We had an NCAA Tournament bracket being released, and Bob sitting around being paralyzed in fear that OU might get into the tournament or they might get left out of the tournament. I don't know where you guys want to start today, but I think we probably should start with basketball.
Sure.
Just because that was, other than Tom Brady, that was the big story yesterday. Unless Eddie has any just white hot takes that he wants to throw out there at the beginning of the show.
I don't think that there's anything that comes to mind.
By the way, we are in the new offices for the first time.
This is
We're
take
the studio.
Yes. This is
yes,
take
indeed.
two.
Don't let them peek behind the curtain, all right?
I think that full transparency. This is take two.
This
on
isn't
what
our
we're
best
trying to
stuff.
do.
That's okay. It's not take two because I wasn't recording the first time.
Oh, well, then fair enough. I'm glad that we didn't get 15 minutes in and realize that.
Yeah, it's a good thing Josh stopped us and was like, hey, I can't hear you. So Josh is not able to hear us completely. It's a little annoying and for him and for us. But you won't notice the difference at home, I promise. So
Shouldn't.
Yeah, they won't.
Well, Josh isn't here, so.
Oh, got the shot in.
Oldie but a goodie. Bob going to the classics in the new office.
Well, and what you learned from Miami is that gas prices are so high, even for flights, that you're probably not going to be here anytime soon.
Yes, there is. I rented the smallest box on wheels that I could find because I knew renting a car would be cheaper than filling up my gas tank. So it was a sound.
Look at Josh pretending like he still has a big truck. I've seen the new truck. It's not the F950 anymore.
It's not.
I think you're sad. That's what I hear. I mean, you're overcompensating right now.
Oh, there is no question that day will return. But it is. I'm not gonna lie that at this exact moment, I'm not upset that it's not here.
Oh God, I can't imagine paying gas for that thing right now.
Have to turn a couple tricks to be able to even fill that thing up.
Hey, stop talking
Well,
about
at least I have the excuse.
his daughters like that. All right, they're young
I'm not.
still.
I didn't say that. He might have to go out on his own.
He's got the calf tab to do it.
Is that what it
Speaking
requires?
of my daughters, Lainey this week, I guess, finally put it together that like people actually listen to this podcast thing we do. And
Oh,
she's
really?
Like, I want to be on it now. Like,
Oh my God.
So yeah.
I mean, we're being overrun. Pearl was just here not too long ago. Now,
Next thing you know, she's gonna start an Instagram page and all this. It's all downhill from here. TikTok. I mean, it's madness.
Sir, I want you to know you will be the first person blocked from her TikTok. So that is.
Well, I would hope so. I don't want to be on a 5-year-old's TikTok. I don't need that on my FYP page.
do they know about that stuff?
Kind of. Like Lainey has her own little like Facebook like messenger app where she can talk with some of her friends and stuff, but it's kind of cool because like Tiffany or I have to approve anyone she talks to, so like it's her, our parents or grandparents, stuff like that. Like it's very tight circle, and then like 3 or 4 of her best little buddies, and they can message and send pictures back and forth and that kind of stuff. But like Insta and Twitter, like I don't think they see me on Twitter, but I don't think they really see that as something for themselves at this point.
I don't know if this means anything, but Eddie just pulled out his phone and started the rundown.
I just remembered. So I'm glad that we
Basically,
did.
the rundown will start out with skip to this part.
There you go.
This. Yeah, no, I got it. That's fair.
Dad pod, skip it.
Dad pod portion skip.
So anyway, let's get back to business. We had a lot of talk about the NCAA tournament. Sooners, man, I mean, hell of a game against Texas Tech.
Yes.
Gave it their all, and they after beating a number 1 seed, apparently, wasn't good enough, left them on the outside looking in. I know, Bob, your contention this whole time is, why the hell do you even have net rankings if this is how you're going to treat Oklahoma?
Pretty much, because it's something Porter Moser has gone back to repeatedly, is like the net ranking not only of OU but of all the teams in the conference, of all the teams that they've been playing, and it says they should be in. When Rutgers is 77, so if you beat Rutgers, that's not even a quad 1 win.
Well, and
that's not a quad 1 win to beat Rutgers.
And basically, what I heard from the committee yesterday was, regardless of what their ratings were, they just didn't win enough of the opportunities that they had.
Yes.
Which is like, I just don't understand.
Yeah, they won a whole bunch of games compared to other people, but they also lost a lot.
What I want to hear from Moser, and we're supposed to talk to him Monday, I believe, to talk, I guess, preview the NIT, kind of wrap up the season.
Yes.
But I want to hear what his thoughts are on scheduling. There's no reason to schedule tough teams if you're not going to be rewarded.
No more
for
Arkansas,
that.
No more Butler.
No. What do you get out of that?
OU's worst loss this season is Butler, and that's not that bad. And
or Utah State, maybe?
No. Utah State was ranked,
were they higher?
60.
Okay.
Than that. Utah State's ahead of Rutgers. Missouri State's ahead of Rutgers. There's teams.
Rutgers and Michigan getting in.
Notre Dame's got a pretty lame case too.
Rutgers and Notre Dame, not Michigan. I can allow Michigan getting in. Rutgers and Notre Dame, though, it's almost a travesty that both of those teams got into the NCAA tournament when you're looking at what is a resume. We spend months talking about what a resume is, and if you're not going to be rewarded for the quote-unquote resume that you build, I get it. OU was 18-15, probably not the best record to get into the NCAA tournament. Their resume says that they should have been in.
And how do bottom-feeding Big Ten teams get in when the Big 12 has 2 number 1 seeds?
That's another thing. How can the Big 12 have 2 number 1 seeds, but 6 teams get in? Mm-hmm. It's like they were punished for having a good conference.
Exactly, and that's what Moser has said that before. It's like if the Big 12 had 12 to 14 teams, more teams would get in. Because eventually you'd have your Penn State, your Maryland, your Northwestern, your Nebraska, where you could chalk up some easy wins.
Easy wins, yeah, make the record look better.
That just didn't happen throughout the entire conference season.
But the thing about it is people that didn't really watch OU, they would look at their record and say, "Oh, they shouldn't be in the tournament."
And they did. They were all over me on Twitter.
That's essentially what happened.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's essentially what happened. We kept saying, "No, pay attention to the rankings. Pay attention to who they've beaten. Look at the overall quality of wins that they have." And when it came down to it, the committee just said, "Nope. Screw that.
Didn't matter.
Doesn't matter."
And it's even for a team like an Indiana, it seemed like they were rewarded for the run that they had in the Big Ten tournament. Mm-hmm. But Texas A&M wasn't at all.
Oh man, they have every right to be pissed. Yeah.
Billy Lucci should drive to Indianapolis and commit a murder today.
You could sometimes.
I might help him.
Sometimes you lean too much in the conference tournaments. This year, with Tennessee and Iowa, it's almost like they didn't care what happened in those conference tournaments.
Yeah. And, Bob, you noted it on Twitter yesterday, though. You played Baylor 3 times, Kansas twice, Auburn.
At Auburn.
When
they were number 1.
Jerry Palm basically said that if Iowa State and OU had flipped SEC, SEC Challenge.
Yeah.
If Iowa State had played Missouri... if OU had played Missouri and Iowa State had played Auburn and they had flipped, OU's probably in the tournament today.
That's what...
You're talking about 1-game differences ending a season. It just... I don't know. But then again...
What game differences ending a season when your final 2 games were a 1-point loss to a 3 seed and a victory over a 1 seed?
That's the other... close losses clearly don't matter.
And what happened to...
they do not matter.
What happened to the committee looking at Oklahoma and saying, you know what, they lost one of their best players in Elijah Harkless, and they found a way to start playing better by the end of the season?
Yep. That was something I asked Porter last week heading into Kansas City, because I thought that was, that was going to be a check mark against them, is that, Harkless isn't there. They're not as good. It's like you found a way, and then you beat Baylor without him. You really have shown that you're more than just EJ. And we're going to talk to Moser here in a couple hours. Actually, by the time you guys listen to this, Moser will already be done. And very curious to see if almost 24 hours later, if Moser has calmed down.
What are you trying to say about the speed of my editing, Bob?
I'm not even going to cuss today. I mean, it's going to be the thing about it is Rutgers has 4 quad 1 and quad 2 wins. That's less. I mean, OU has double that of quad 1, quad 2.
Sooners have 10.
Is Rutgers the team that was 18 and 13?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It just and they lost to just terrible teams.
I guess. I mean, they've got good wins too. Illinois, Wisconsin, Purdue.
Yeah.
Like they had like a week where they went nuts and put them into the conversation.
Sure.
But then they didn't close strong.
But guys, it's okay. OU's a COVID alternate.
They were number.
COVID's been over for like months unless Anthony Fauci comes back and starts infecting people.
Unless you're COVID. Okay. Unless you're COVID 1 alternate.
Which I heard happened the first time around.
Unless you're COVID 1 alternate, you really have no hope.
Wait, who is Dayton, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Dayton.
And here's it's funny to think, like, if Virginia Tech had lost to Duke and had Davidson beaten Richmond, OU's in.
Well, and that's the thing. You talk about, like, not getting any breaks. They didn't get a single break.
Yeah, well, but if the Aggies would have won, like, there's other things that could have, or if Dayton would have reached the Atlantic 10 championship.
Sure.
But it was just that, because it's clear Virginia Tech wasn't going to make it if they didn't beat Duke. And obviously Richmond was stealing a bid when they made that late run in the last couple
of months. You called it in the text group. I mean, you're like, that's bad for Oklahoma as soon as they won.
What happens if OU, like, say 2 teams do get COVID and they can't play? What happens if OU plays Tuesday night and then somehow they're looking at having to play in the NCAA tournament on Friday? Is that what would happen? Like, they would play in the NIT, say that a team, and I'm sure that there's
no way you turn that down.
Well, no, I mean, they would, but is that what would happen? Like, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you have to forfeit being the alternate because you selected another tournament when you weren't picked by the initial tournament.
I mean, it's not going to happen. I mean, you didn't see anybody even bow out of conference tournaments for COVID. Why would they bow out? Like, I told my dad last night, it's like, if a team comes back with COVID and they can't play in the NCAA tournament, that coach should be fired.
Like Will Wade.
The correct response if somebody has COVID is, don't tell anybody you have a cold. We're playing in the NCAA tournament. Will Wade. What a scumbag he is. Well,
I haven't even had time to really look at all the.
I've not looked at it yet either.
It was just blatant cheating. I mean, he was caught on.
But it was football too, though, right?
I don't know how much the football stuff was like actually involved. But Will Wade, I mean, the only thing that he is truly guilty of is not winning. Cheating is happening at rapid rates in the Division I.
Yeah, LSU's like, what the hell? We're cheating in everything and we suck.
Yeah, so you're fired.
Our football program sucks and now our basketball program sucks.
It's not the 8 level 1 NCAA infractions. It's you weren't winning. You were cheating and not winning. We got to find somebody in here that's going to cheat and win.
So,
that's the LSU way.
So now you look at the Sooners. They're the number 1 seed in one of the NIT 18 brackets. They'll play Tuesday night against Missouri State. Look at that. Porter Moser gets to play Missouri State again after years and years of doing that. And the only thing I haven't answered, is the OU women are the number 4 seed, and they will host at LNC throughout the course of the weekend. I don't think there's a way the OU men could host a second round game. I could be wrong, but with the OU women in that region playing Saturday, Monday, I don't know. Would you shoehorn it into Sunday when the women's teams would be having their practice sessions and all that other stuff, and it's kind of marked out for NCAA? So don't have any clarification on that, but of course, just win Tuesday first, and then we'll see where things go.
Sure, and I mean, it is what it is. It's like you can't do anything about it now. You're not in the NCAA tournament, so you might as well try to go, I guess, win the NIT. I mean, I think that they're going to try to spin this now, Bob, as like you can at least try to build some type of momentum into 2022.
Because teams have, right? I mean, you look at TCU, Jamie Dixon's first year, and him doing that. Shaka Smart in Texas did it. OU fans made fun of him for the entire year, but that happened. Then Memphis won it last year. Memphis is a 9 seed this year. Like that, there's legitimate thing to saying that, especially when you have a lot of guys that you expect to be back. I don't know how Jordan Goldwire, Marvin Johnson, Ethan Shagwa are feeling at this moment, but I know Tanner Groves, Jacob Groves, Bijan Cortez, CJ Nolan, Jalen Hill, like that's a solid 5 that you fully expect to return to this team next season. Now they just get a little, a couple more weeks of practices, a couple more games to start building into what should be what they're hoping, obviously, is for a tournament run for next season.
You would think, like, on the back end of it, I mean, I think anybody that plays basketball someday wants to go play at Madison Square Garden. It's kind of cool. So we'll see. I mean, they should win. They should go to New York City. They should be one of the top 4 teams in this NIT.
They should.
I mean, there's no excuse. If you lace it up, they should be in that position. So it's just disappointing. The way that they ended, and, Friday night, too, it's like, you have every opportunity to win that game against Tech.
It was when Jordan Goldwire starts cramping. It's like, how are you going to figure this out?
And even with that said, they still have the ball with 6 seconds left on the tip out. It's not the best look. I did think it was funny that Moser talked about basically getting guys to drive to the basket. That's probably the one time that you say, Mo, just
pull up the three, do it
wherever, half court,
pull up and hit a from the free throw line, hit a 15-footer. But it just wasn't meant to be. And Jalen Hill should have been the guy taking the free throws, but
Jalen Hill should have had 25 free throws in that game.
Yeah, he got
clobbered.
He really
assaulted the entire time.
There were a lot of fouls not called on him for sure.
It is what it is, though. They and with all of this said, it's one of those things. Oh, Parker Fredrickson just committed to OSU.
I had heard Creighton.
Really? With all that said, you still have 7 games throughout the regular season, whether it be the Butler game or the Texas game or the TCU game. We've rehashed all of them.
2 losses to TCU.
If you just win one of those games, you're probably in the NCAA tournament.
Yep.
So it's a rough look, but it is what it is.
Did you see our own Josh McQuistion try and jump on the OU bandwagon and throw us under it at the same time?
Yes, indeed.
During the Big 12 tournament?
I mean, let it be said that I said the night of the Baylor win, this is a tournament team, national championship or bust. Guys, they're number 1 seed right now. So, I mean, I think
that's all Josh knows. Josh knows they're number 1 seed. Doesn't know what tournament is it. They're number 1 seed.
I mean, technically,
tournaments. Nobody told me this.
Technically, that is true. They could win a championship.
Hang the banner.
A national invitational championship.
I mean, didn't see Duke getting invited to this tournament.
Banners last forever.
It's invite only. I like that.
No, it's a nice little glory grab you tried there, Josh.
No, legitimately, I watched, I would say, 15 minutes of the second half of Texas Tech. I mean 15 minutes of the game. I came.
They're called game minutes.
Yeah. So I was there for 45 minutes, almost an hour, just kind of. It's
40 to 26.
Yeah, it was not good.
and then
it was. It was, like I said, that was it's so weird because I was always such a guy that watched. I mean, I watched a ton of basketball, and to be I don't know any of these guys. I don't know their games. I don't know anything about them. I don't know what their strengths are.
I mean, you have a lot of important things to do. You have to fight with people on the Crimson Corner about whether the Red Panda is about menstruation or not.
Yes. Guys, these are lofty problems that I have to deal with.
Or what's it called? What's the
Turning
movie?
Red?
Turning Red.
Yeah.
Is it about menstruation?
It is.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's about growing into a woman. It's womanhood. Yeah. Yes.
I don't want to know.
But people making it
I watched the Adam Project, by the way.
It's Teen Wolf. It's Teen Wolf is what it is.
Unless your child knows what menstruation is, they're not going to pick up that correlation at all.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring that argument to the pod. Trust me.
So it's people looking for stuff to be mad about and the corruption of children.
Just go watch Encanto. Go watch the Adam Project. I enjoyed that movie this weekend.
I started it, and Layla came in on the first fight scene this morning. She was waking up, and I was starting it this morning, and she was like, "What are they doing?" And I'm trying to explain that the kid is Ryan Reynolds, and she's
the little kid fight scene.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
No. When God, I don't want to spoil it. When the third party shows up.
Okay. Yeah.
In the woods.
And people start getting dissolved with a stick.
Yes. That's correct. That's the moment. She's like, "What is happening?" And I didn't really know what was going to come next, so I let her watch it, and I was like, "Okay, people are dissolving." evolving here. This is problematic for my 4-year-old. But yeah, it was a lot to explain time travel to a kid still working on, understanding what a clock is.
Yeah, I gotcha. All right, so we had some Under Armour campage this weekend. Eddie,
Under Armour campage.
Josh, both there?
Just real quick, everything went well in Tulsa on Sunday. I know that we kind of mentioned it at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic trip. I want to thank Ken and Greg and Darnell Whitaker, Isaiah's mentor. They were so gracious, and Isaiah, I just let him go up there and run the show, man, and he did a great job talking to the kids. And we were able to give them a check for $1,500 to go along with shirts for all those kids up there. And I've talked about this a couple of times now, and I tweeted about it last night. And I think covering college athletics, it is. And it kind of goes back to, get ready for my soapbox here. It kind of goes back to Bob Stoops, and he would talk about the value of bowl games. And I always loved what he said, because he talked about how you have kids from, parts of the world that have never experienced like going to Miami. They've never experienced staying in a luxury hotel because their worlds just weren't that big. And I've always thought about my life in terms of, I think we all have stages we go through. I think it's funny. I joke with my parents about this. Like, when I was growing up, like, we never went to a restaurant and got like appetizers. But like, I would go with my friends, and his parents always got appetizers, like multiple appetizers at the table. And I was like, holy shit, what kind of world is this? Like, we're not allowed to even mention appetizers when we go to Chili's. Yeah. But my world was not that big. Like, there's certain things that you never experience.
Sure.
And those kids at that home, I mean, they've been, it's really interesting, because when I'm talking to Ken, I'm talking to Greg just about what they're doing and the kind of kids that are out there, it's like they're trying to speak about the horrible things that those kids have had to go through without telling you. And it's up to your imagination. Like, did their fathers beat them? Were their parents drug addicts? Were they kids that were abandoned? And I think all of that is true at some point. And, you talk to those kids and you see them talk to Isaiah. And when I talk about how big people's worlds are, their worlds are incredibly small. And the questions in the conversations that they're having with Isaiah, they're questions coming from someone that doesn't know what tomorrow holds for them. If they're going to still be if they still are going to have a place to live, if anyone is going to, feed them. Like, does anyone, they're looking for someone to just care about them. And just watching those guys and seeing Isaiah go out there, kind of opening their eyes to what their worlds could be, because their worlds have been so terrible. That was really what I took out of it yesterday. And, I know their director said, that $1,500 will go to feeding these kids, because they spend like $250,000 a year just feeding all the boys that are out there. And it was really cool, because they all came into the gym at the same time. They got to do a Q&A with Isaiah, and there was one little OSU fan, and he asked Isaiah what it felt like to, how did it feel like to lose to OSU in his last game, and everybody laughed. And I think Isaiah took a little shot back, saying, well, they did lose in the Big 12 championship the next week.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Right. And then they asked him if, how tall is he? Because, Isaiah, he's massive.
Yeah, he's huge.
And so they said, can you dunk? And then another kid's like, prove it!
Yes.
And so he dunked, and it was pretty impressive. Like, no warm-ups. He just got a ball and
dunked it?
Yeah, just dunked it, and it was impressive. But, he loves Tulsa, and, he grew up without a father, so he really appreciates, what those kids, where they're coming from, what they're going to. It was just it was a great experience.
That's cool.
And let me say this, I wanted to make that all about Isaiah, and I know a lot of people at SoonerScoop contributed to make that happen. I mean, our subscribers made that happen. They willed it out of thin air, because we were just going to get 11, hoodies and T-shirts for the kids that Isaiah deals with directly, that are Darnell's kids, and our subscribers like, well, no, how many kids are out there? Because we want to get stuff. We want to get a T-shirt for all of them. That became, we want to get a hoodie and a T-shirt for all of them. And I can't thank all of you enough that donated. And we've talked about this before, but what you guys did for those kids, on top of just the $1,500 donation, it let them know that people out there do care about them, and that even though their lives have been awful up to this point, that they've had people abandon them, that they've had people treat them horribly, that to know that someone cares enough to give them a hoodie and give them a t-shirt, they all lit up. So it was fantastic.
It's awesome. It was tremendous. I enjoyed. I wish I obviously would have been able to get up there and see everything.
Well, and that's the thing. Like with Scoop, what we're building here, we would love to be able to do this in the future and have our own film crew that goes out there and details every step of the way, and even traveling out there, and that's the goal. Is to do more and more of this stuff.
And I would imagine that when the day comes and Isaiah has more than plenty of money after his first NFL contract, he'll be giving back to the Boys and Girls Club up there as well. So
yeah. I mean, he loves reaching out to kids and for all the reasons I just mentioned.
Sure.
So
no, that was cool.
All right. Thank you once again to everyone for being a part of it. It was just fantastic. Under Armour camp on Sunday. Josh, you and Eddie were up there. A lot of interviews that you brought back. You seem to be very excited about the talent that was at the camp. Just tell us a little bit about kind of your impressions, other than it being windy, which Eddie is still very frustrated with.
My lips are like chapped because of it.
No, I'm with Eddie. And the worst part, I think, Eddie, I don't know about for you, but I didn't really realize I'd gotten a little too much sun until I got in the car. And I think it was because the wind was blowing.
Oh, yeah, you get windburn. Yeah,
you don't get that sheen on your face, like where you're like, oh, okay, maybe I'm a little hot here. But there was just a wind coming the whole time, so you never really felt it. And I'm with Eddie. My lips are still chapped. Like I have not – there's not enough chapstick in the world to fix my problem. But yeah, I really thought, and that's something, when you talk to national guys, whether it's Rivals guys, 24/7, whatever, Texas kids, they just like to play football. Like they like any excuse to be out there doing it. And I thought it was a really good turnout from, not just the 3 and 4 star guys, but the elite guys that showed up at that camp knowing that not only was everybody going to be competing with them, trying to push them, trying to gain attention for themselves, but also they were going to have to do 37 interviews during the course of that camp because the Under Armour people were saying that yesterday set some sort of record for media at an event. There were like 43 media members there yesterday at the camp. Like that's how insane it was. And so, Rivals had, I think, 7 or 8 guys there from, Texas, OU, obviously. Nick Harris, our new Texas guy, was there. So there was Rivals is well represented. There should be a lot of content coming out of all this. But yeah, you look at it, Javian Toviano, David Hicks, I'm going to blank on the names here, but there were so many top flight guys. And even guys that maybe aren't ranked very high yet, but are guys that I know OU is very serious about, Samaje Burrell, Jaden Chapman, some of those type of guys. And like I said, I came away and, Eddie can certainly chime in, but in most cases, I think OU's in very good shape for some of those top-level guys.
I think the biggest thing that I took away, Josh, was just kind of the conversations that we had and the on-camera interviews that you had with, a David Hicks or a Jordan Renaud, guys that, I think in past years there was a realistic opportunity or chance for Oklahoma to land those guys. But just the way that they talk about Todd Bates, the way that they talk about Brent Venables, and it's kind of a constant stream of positivity on the defensive side of the football, but you walk away from those interviews thinking like they have realistic opportunities to really actually land some of these guys, particularly a Hicks, particularly a Renaud, guys that, I think OU probably in past years would have had opportunities or a chance to get, but you go, yeah, they're probably going to need things to go their way to be able to land them. It seems like there's a very real relationship being built between guys, and particularly on the defensive line between Miguel Chavis, Todd Bates, and Brent Venables. I think there's just some really exciting momentum that Oklahoma is going to continue to build throughout the spring and then obviously into the summer months.
Yeah, and we talked with Ashton Cozart about it, just kind of how it seems like in one area in particular right now for me is Dallas-Fort Worth, where it just seems like a lot of the top guys are really buying into Oklahoma. And obviously, Oklahoma already has Jackson Arnold, the elite quarterback, Rivals 100 guy committed from Denton Guyer. And that's kind of the extreme of the Metroplex. But I mean, you're talking in the general area for sure. And again, Cozart, who, people sometimes look at our rankings and say, a 3-star. Ashton Cozart's almost a unanimous top 100 guy anywhere else you go. And I thought he was very good yesterday. The one Oklahoma commitment that was on hand.
Wide receiver MVP.
Really long guy. Still trying, it was funny because I mentioned it on the board that he apparently ran a really good 40. So after Eddie and I interview him, I kind of remember, I wanted to see what you ran. And he was like, they didn't tell me. I don't know what it was. He goes, I guess it must have been pretty good because Craig Hobart, one of the ESPN guys that was kind of involved in running the camp, said something like, almost burned the building down. He ran so well, that kind of thing. And you're like, well, okay, that must have been really something, because I don't remember him saying anything else like that about any of the guys in any position group. So he must have put up a good number, which is impressive because I think of him more as a really smooth kind of just one of those guys that never looks out of control. He's got good. I mean, I hate to repeat myself, but good body control, very natural in the air. Eddie put it up on the board, had a beautiful one-handed catch yesterday. But just absolutely is a guy that I like a lot and think has a lot of potential to really be a difference maker type of player. So, you talk to him about Peyton Bowen, and obviously we've already mentioned David Hicks, and you start running down the list of some of the guys in the Dallas area that OU is very serious about, and it sounds like they're making very positive moves.
I guess the one bad thing that we would probably walk away, Josh, in saying, or maybe the negative aspect of the interviews that we had yesterday was, unfortunately, with Javian Toviano. I think that it seems like just kind of walking away from that interview, it seems like, OU has some ground to make up. I think that that's probably the best way to say it, just as far as rebuilding a relationship, because he had such a strong relationship with the guys that were here in the previous staff.
Yeah, and it was surprising because when I saw Javian last fall, he really was excited about Oklahoma. You could tell he was really amped up for what was to come and what could be. He was very much into that situation to a point that it surprised me. Kind of like what we're talking about now with this staff. It's quickly, when I talk to defensive recruits, it's almost becoming like, you offered you, okay, all right, you've already set up your visit, okay, cool. It happens that fast for these defensive guys. Javian Toviano right now is the one exception to that rule, that it doesn't seem like it just turned in Oklahoma's direction. It was kind of already there, and he's talking about going out to USC and visiting, obviously much of the former OU staff that's out there. So it's kind of interesting to watch that, because beyond OU having a new staff, Jay Valai is a guy that is from his area, was recruiting him at Alabama, and a guy that Toviano has a good relationship with. I mean, he was very, I thought, sincere talking to Eddie and I yesterday about how much he likes Coach Valai and how, they really do have a good relationship. So it feels, I can't quite put my finger on what it is, like where things have gone amiss, but it just feels like it's a little off right now. Now, talking to him, I didn't get the impression that OU couldn't get back in the race, because I think one of the questions I asked him was, it seems in you talking, that OU is a little bit behind. How far are they behind? Is that something that can be overcome? And I thought he was like, yeah, that's completely possible. So it was just interesting to kind of hear that from him and watch that play out a little bit. But again, he's the one guy. I mean, we had a guy, Zena Umeazulu, one of the top 50 guys in the class of 2024, the younger brother of Neto that Oklahoma recruited last year and eventually signed with Texas. He said his two standouts are Oklahoma and Texas A&M right now, with his brother at Texas. Now, could that be, some kind of, people throwing people off the scent, doesn't want it to be so obvious about Texas? Sure, we've seen those kind of things before. That does happen. But talking to him, he seemed very sincere. It seemed like he was a kid that really liked what OU was telling him. Liked Miguel Chavis, kind of talk. I mean, it's funny talking to these recruits, these things that Miguel Chavis is getting into, the coaching secrets, all that stuff, that resonates with these guys. I mean, to make a comparison to Sooner Scoop stuff, it's not unlike Eddie. Like, you're making those guys laugh. They notice it. It's funny to them. Like, they get into it. So, like I said, I was very impressed with the reception that Oklahoma was getting yesterday. But, I mean, you've got to close these guys. It's great to be in a good position right now with David Hicks and Jordan Renaud, but you've got to win. I mean, that's just the bottom line.
I did think that it was kind of interesting, Josh, that, especially with all these DFW guys, and I think it would probably make sense when the hire was made, but Jay Valai is very active with all of the DFW guys. It's not just defensive backs, it seems like. It seems like he's talking to just about everybody from that area.
Well, you can tell. So what my understanding was when he went to Alabama, his role was really to keep Texas involved, to keep Alabama involved in Texas to the same level they had been with Jeff Banks when he left to go from Alabama to, the University of Texas. So I think that was his role. So like Jordan Renaud mentioned, Valai is one of the guys he has a really good relationship, and Renaud's a defensive lineman from East Texas. So I think Jay has a very good baseline because obviously at Alabama, he's recruiting a lot of the same guys that OU is going to be focusing on. So he knows those guys already. There's a connection there. And, you just got to watch kind of where that will go. But, I mean, he gives OU a leg up with any kid that maybe they didn't know yet or didn't have a relationship with. Almost certainly he was recruiting them at Alabama if they're one of those high-end defensive guys, because that's what he did for Alabama. He was there, go land a top 20 guy in the state of Texas. That's what your job is. That's your mandate. Go do it. And that's what he was working to do at Alabama. And now he steps into Oklahoma, is surrounded by guys with a good, Dallas connection. And that's something I hear over and over, and not even really from recruits, because they don't think about that stuff. But when I talk to high school coaches, they're like, I don't know how this staff wouldn't recruit really well in Dallas, because they know everybody. Like they know if I'm recruiting this kid from DeSoto or Duncanville or wherever it is, they know the guy to call to get the wheels turning.
Josh, could Braden Willis do anything with Toviano, or is it just too big of a year difference where they don't really have a connection?
No, I think like I said, we didn't really get into the Braden connection last time because we talked about it so much on my last interview with him, or last time I saw him in person, and he was so, just so open about how close he is to Braden, and Braden is very close with his older brother, and so Javian really just kind of grew up around Braden. Like, they really do have a good relationship. I don't think the fact that they'll never play together, I don't think that has any role. And what I do think helps Oklahoma a ton is that Braden Willis has come back. I mean, obviously we didn't know that at the time I spoke with Javian, but if they can get him to come for an official visit, there's no question who his host is going to be. Like that's a easy home run of a choice, and those two get along. There really is a bond there, and Braden can tell him, okay, this is what it was under Lincoln, this is what it is under Brent. And, Javian can weigh that out however he wants to. But like I said, I think that is I don't think they're out of it. I think Javian is a very smart kid. He's not going to rush into anything. He's in no hurry to make a choice. If Oklahoma can rebuild, the momentum they had, and I think some of it, guys, is just they haven't gotten into campus. Like he's had. Because I talked to him, so what do you got coming up? And he had like 5 visits already scheduled between now and June 1st. And he's got a lot going on, and obviously spring football at Martin. So there's a heavy schedule in front of him. But if Oklahoma can get him back on campus, he usually tends to love the visits he takes. Like right now, he's very high on LSU, coming right off the heels of his LSU visit and already talking about going back. He did the same thing when he visited Oklahoma. So I think you just have to find a way to get him back to campus, roll out the red carpet, really put everything in front of him. And I think Oklahoma can get back in the race. But again, there's a lot of ifs there.
And it should be noted. I mean, the kid shows up with an OU hat on his back. I don't think that means he's necessarily coming to Oklahoma, but it also doesn't not mean nothing, right?
Well, what it means is the kid owns 2 different OU hats, because he was seen Saturday by one of our members. Under Armour on Saturdays at these camps does their middle school camps, and then the following day does their high school camps. So he was out, because this was on, for those that don't know, this was Arlington Martin where JVM plays. He was out there Saturday coaching the kids and working with some of the local kids and that kind of stuff. And he was walking around in an OU beanie, just for anybody to see. And one of our members saw him and kind of asked him about it. He's like, oh, yeah. And, very much got the impression Javian really liked Oklahoma. Now, he knows he's talking to an OU fan. I don't want to, say, oh, well, that means everything.
Sure.
But the kid has 2 OU hats. I don't think he probably has. I wonder how many schools he could say that of. So I think it's a sign that at least at one point he was very interested. I don't see any reason why guys like Brent Venables, Jay Valai, Todd Bates, you go down the list, I don't see any reason to believe those guys couldn't get Oklahoma back in the race.
If he was walking around with an unofficial 40 hat, then that would say something.
I gave him one. That would have been awesome, actually. And it also probably would have been like, man, this fearful. I don't know if you should be listening. This comes with a X-rated parental advisory type thing.
My friends, it's come time for me to tell you about Dead Soxy again, because they've got the Norman Retro Casual socks out right now, $18. That's to go along with the other Oklahoma collection. You can get the Norman Mix 4-pack bundle for $64.95 right now. That gets you the new retro sock, the Maker Bayfield, the Wagon, the best socks that you're going to put on your feet this year, and they'll get you game day ready. So get the State and Stripes Crimson, as I said, the Wagon, the State text that says Oklahoma over and over on it. Look, you just got to try these socks. DeadSoxy.com, DeadSoxy.com. We tell you guys about them all the time. We wear them all the time. The entire staff loves these socks, and we've got better weather coming up. You got the no-shows out there if you want to grab yourself some of those, but I know what you're here for. You're here for the Oklahoma Dead Soxy socks, and now the Norman Retro Casual sock is right along with them. So something new, check it out, DeadSoxy.com. Use that promo code Boomer, and you'll get 25% off your total order. And I tell you what, the Crimson Boomer Crimson 8-pack still there. Get all the socks for $124.95, or go for the Norman Mix 4-pack bundle to get that new retro sock for $64.95 and the Maker Bayfield. So go check them out, DeadSoxy.com, DeadSoxy.com. Use that promo code Boomer, get 25% off, and as always, stay soxy.
One of the guys, two other names that we talked to yesterday, Josh, that I think we probably need to talk about here on the pod: Peyton Bowen and Trey Wisner. I think that I came away thinking there was some good positive momentum on both. And I think that, we'll start with Bowen, because I think people watched the interview that we put up yesterday, and it's up on the Crimson Corner. I think that people kind of misinterpreted it a little bit. I don't know. I think that the people that thought that, they watched it and then that Oklahoma has no chance, I adamantly disagree with.
It is very interesting, kind of basing on who you talk to, because for the last few weeks, when you talk to people that are well connected at Geyer, it's like Oklahoma's making a move here, something's happening. Now, I think people, when momentum starts to shift, people he's going to flip, and then if he doesn't flip, that must not have been real. That's not always the way that works. He sounds like a kid that is certainly going to take some more visits, going to look around. It wouldn't shock me if he doesn't come to his final decision until the Under Armour All-American game. I don't think he's in any hurry. Eddie, you've done a lot of these interviews with me. For a kid that was committed to one school and is looking at multiple others, I thought he was incredibly relaxed yesterday. A lot of those kids get real tense about those conversations. He didn't have a care in the world. He was very easygoing about it. Did probably 10, 12 interviews yesterday with various people wanting to talk to him. But I will say, I walked out of that feeling okay, Notre Dame is still here more than I thought they were. I kind of thought, A&M was kind of a faltering situation. I was like, that commitment's just not going to last. That's going to fail. I don't feel that way right now. Talking to other people that spoke with him, some having, either they were helping out a Notre Dame site in their network, or they're national guys that have no real affiliation to any team side or whatever. The two schools I kept hearing were actually OU and Ohio State. when they would talk to Peyton Bowen, they kind of walked away feeling like, I feel like it might be Ohio State and Oklahoma that are really kind of emerging here. But when I talked to him, it felt like Notre Dame. Like I was like, if I took this just at face value, I would feel like Notre Dame is his most likely choice. But again, I don't know.
It's kind of one of those things. Like, is he just, this is like inside the interview, but it's like he knows he's talking to an Oklahoma site, almost doesn't want to tip his hand? Or is that me just thinking that in the back of my mind, knowing that Jackson Arnold's in his back pocket, like he's being pushed to Oklahoma?
And Eddie, that's where I really come out. I think he's a guy that knows, obviously I've had conversations with Jackson Arnold, and I joked with him during the interview about, how hard Jackson's pushing him and that kind of stuff. So I do. I think there is more and more with these kids. And, we talked about it yesterday, how many great interviews there were among the guys we talked to. There were people are going to love the Jordan Renaud interview. He was so easy to talk to. Like, I told Eddie after we were done, I was like, I just needed to talk less and hand him the microphone. Like he was outstanding to talk to. And so with Peyton, I can't help but feel there was a little gamesmanship in there, because what he sounded like to me was so different than everything else I heard from others that spoke with him. So, again, we're guessing. We don't know. But that's my vibe based on, because his interview with me is such an outlier from not only other interviews yesterday, but other things I've been hearing for weeks. And we'll see. I like I said, I don't think it's a set destination for him. I think there are a lot of possibilities.
Go ahead.
Oh,
I was just going to say something that we're not guessing about is Trey's, maybe even more so, not even just Trey, but the Wisner family love for DeMarco Murray in Oklahoma.
You are right. While we did the video interview with Trey, and it was one of my favorite answers I got all day was him talking about how much he likes DeMarco Murray. And I kind of said, hey, Trey, is this about, DeMarco Murray, the former, offensive player of the year and this great Cowboys running back and all the stuff he did at Oklahoma as well? Or is it a different thing than that? I mean, what is it that makes DeMarco Murray so appealing to you as a coach? And he was very clear. Like, he didn't care at all about, DeMarco Murray, the great player. He talked about, the kind of father that DeMarco Murray is, the kind of coach he is, the kind of person he is. Like, kind of like, I want to be like him. I want to emulate him. And after we were done, I walked over and talked to his mother, and it was... Well, there was a few things that might end up in woke in that conversation. She is, it's not a Twitter thing. She really likes Oklahoma. There's no doubt about it. If he makes it to Norman, Oklahoma, I will guarantee she will be with him, is the way I would say that. So as far as any visits or anything else, she very much liked what she saw. And has seen from Oklahoma. So, like I said, teasing woke on Wednesday just a little bit, but yeah, there's a lot of good vibes there. I think you wouldn't be crazy to put in a forecast for Trey in Oklahoma at this moment.
Overall, it was a really good camp, though. I mean, there was a lot of top-end talent that, there were some guys that obviously I would have loved to have seen Jackson Arnold, but, maybe he'll be at the Elite 11 here coming up in a couple weeks in the DFW area. Outside of that, though, plenty of interviews and highlights and all that kind of stuff to come. And, like Ashton Kozar, we, probably didn't spend a whole lot of time on him. That was the first time that I was able to see him. Big body. It's kind of like I told you, Josh. I think that he's somebody that would absolutely be able to carry more weight when he does get bigger. But, he's just one of those guys. There's only so much. Like, he seems like one of those guys that would excel in that type of setting. I don't want this to sound bad, but I want to see it on Friday nights. I want to see it on Saturdays. Can he do it when he puts pads on?
Yeah. What's interesting, Eddie, is because what would you say? He's probably about 6'1", 6'2", maybe. he's not the 6'4", like,
sure.
He's not the giant guy, but his frame is pretty big. Like, he's one of those guys you're like, he could carry, he could get north of 200, I think, without a lot of problems. Like, he big shouldered, like he's a big frame kind of guy, real long legged, long arms. But like I said, so smooth. And, you hate the connotation it connects, but you brought it up yesterday, and you're not wrong, Eddie. There's some Trajan bridges in his game. That same sort of, like I said, kind of surprises you with the way he's put together and the way his game is, because his change of direction's very quick. He's very explosive. Like, you wouldn't think of it because, like, he's kind of long levered, and there are things that would make you think, oh, he's a guy that's got to get up to speed, but you'd watch him separate with quickness. I mean, he really, there's a lot to like there. Again, I mentioned the hands on the one catch, and I thought he showed off good hands almost throughout the camp, really caught everything thrown in his direction. So maybe one of the things I like the most, and this is, Carey going to have to bring back the classic old man Josh, but he got in trouble on one drill for not finishing. He caught a ball, beat the defensive back, and it was like a comeback route. It was like a little nothing. And he starts to just kind of run back to the line of scrimmage and give the ball to the next quarterback. And here's a coach, and like I was watching on my camera because I'm taking shots, and I see him. He's like, "What?" And so he turns around and he sprints back down to the end zone. Well, afterward, he's talking, and I didn't even bring it up in particular, and I just kind of was asking how his day went, and he mentioned that, like, I didn't do that like I was supposed to, and that seemed to bother him, and you're like, that's at least a guy that gets it, like he understood, I messed up, he didn't act pouty about it or mad about it, like, okay, that's what I was supposed to do, coach just told me to, I didn't go do it. So I liked that response, and I know that's a little thing, but that's the kind of stuff where, Venables talks about, recruiting your own problems. Well, go the other way and recruit guys that are going to make your team better because they get the details matter.
And it very much seems like him and, Jackson Arnold and guys in that 2023 class, they're going to be very active as far as, and I think everybody knows how good DFW is in 2023 and 2024. Like, they are going to be active. And he told you as much, Josh, that he wants to be a recruiter in this class. He's not one of those guys that seems like he's a quiet guy.
No, because I asked him about, what it was like with Coach Gundy, and he kind of pivoted within the answer into, well, yeah, it's great with Coach Gundy, I've got a good relationship, but I'm the recruiter now. Like, he kind of went like, he doesn't have to do that anymore. I'm worried about who I'm going to bring with me. And, mention Peyton Bowen and, I know Mikael Harrison Pilot is a guy that has mentioned him before as well. So there's a lot of overlap with some of these Texas guys. And I think, and we've talked before about how OU has maybe changed their areas of emphasis a little bit in recruiting. I mean, we've all talked about the Southeast thing. We've beaten it to death. But Dallas has become a big deal. And along with, like, Kansas City, Missouri, St. Louis, kind of that whole, what is it, I guess, I-70? Is that I-70 that connects all of that kind of connection there? They've made that a big point of emphasis. And when you do that, you get these guys, oh, you want to go on this visit with me? Or you want, let's talk about OU. You kind of, those guys do some of the work for you because those relationships already exist.
I think we have exhausted the Under Armour Arlington
Under Armour is checked off.
That's about it. I mean, it really was a good camp. It was good to get, like, finally back into some type of normalcy in camps, too. Just being able to get out there, get video, be able to, get around and do stuff.
So what is coming up, like, campus-wise? I mean, you've got spring game coming up. Do you get a sense of a brewing visit weekend, or is it just going to be a steady flood of guys in and out?
This week and, over the next couple weeks with guys having varying spring break schedules, you're going to see some, midweek guys. Obviously, Troy Bowles came in last week, and I'm told that went well. Big linebacker from Florida that is the son of Tampa Bay's defensive coordinator Todd Bowles. So really, and a guy that you would think because of that connection, a guy like Brent Venables is really going to resonate with him. So like I said, Ohio State's kind of perceived as the favorite for him right now. But as far as the next big one, it'll be March 26th. That's starting to build like another really good. It looks like there's going to be some big time 2023 guys like Bryson Sanders, the big offensive lineman they offered not long ago. He'll be there, kid from Tennessee. But there's also going to be a pretty heavy 2024 feel from what I'm gathering, including, a couple of in-state guys, and Ryan Grayson from Beggs, Dax Collins from Poto. So you are getting, OU is starting to not only build momentum in 23, but starting to get a clearer picture of what 24 is going to look like. Now that the dust is kind of settled and the staff can kind of all come together and say, these are the guys we like, these are the guys we're going to, they're going to be playing B. They can kind of formulate a roadmap for what they want to do in both of these classes, and they can start to react to what's going to happen, because the last few weeks have been very quiet as far as commitments go, nationally, all that. That's going to change. I mean, that I would say over the next 3 weeks, you'll see a spike where guys start hitting campuses and start hitting the road and start making some choices.
Speaking of 2024, one and coming in and out, David Stone will be one of those guys. I had a chance to talk with him over the weekend, and he visited OU Friday. He's in town because IMG is having its spring break, and Stone's ranked number 10 overall by Rivals for the 2024 class. And he met with Ted Roof and Todd Bates on Friday. Really enjoyed that, and now he's staying the entire week. He thinks he'll head to Stillwater one of these days during the middle of the week, and then he'll head back to OU when Brent Venables returns for the weekend. So you're here for a week and you see OU twice. You got to feel good about that. I'll have a full write-up on what Stone told me here later in the week.
Not to mention, Josh, I know that we kind of talked about it yesterday down in Dallas, but OU and IMG, that might become a thing here over the next couple years.
It really could be. One of the guys that is coming in this week, I mentioned guys in spring break that are going to come in. IMG cornerback Jordan Johnson-Rubel is a guy that is from the Dallas area and ended up at IMG, and I had a chance to speak with him. We'll have a story out of that here hopefully the next day or so. And he is just another one of these top flight IMG guys in that 2024 class that is going to come in, already has, again, you add him to David Stone, who Bob already spoke about, and then you throw in Stacey Gage, another former Oklahoma product that is now at IMG. Oklahoma could do something we've just never seen them do at a place like IMG, and that's go land, multiple high-end players. So we'll see. I mean, this is OU fans will hope it will turn out a little better than the only other time it happened with TJ Pleasure and Buki, but there is still.
Is that like the new alternate jerseys? Like, you can't go to IMG. Mike, can't go to IMG because those guys weren't any good.
It's one of those things where people always get into that, like, oh, those IMG guys. No, there's a lot of them around college football that are really good. What is interesting is, and I had to go look up where we've got Jordan Johnson-Rubel rated. He's the number 16 overall player in the class. I mean, he is the number 6 player in Florida, which, you throw that in. One of the guys he's behind is David Stone, another is Stacey Gage. So you're talking about 3, at this point, of the top 15 players in the country that have a real connection to Oklahoma, have plans to take visits this spring, and obviously are teammates with another 30 guys who are going to sign major Division I letters of intent when their time comes. So it's nothing but good for Oklahoma that they kind of have fallen into a little bit of good luck at a place like IMG right now.
What did you think of being able to see Dylan Edwards? I know that he stopped at a 7-on-7 tournament on the way up to Dallas on Saturday.
It is one of those things where it was funny because I watched this little guy go by and he's wearing number 7, and I'm like, that kind of, I want to be clear, I didn't know Dylan Edwards was going to be at this. I was going to see the Sooner 7 team with like Micah Tease and Steele Wassel and some of those guys. They were up in North Houston, and it was Saturday evening. I was like, well, I'll just hit that on my way out of Houston to go to Under Armour on Sunday. So I just stopped by for a few hours, and all of a sudden it just so happened that Dylan Edwards goes running by me, and I knew what the kid looked like, and I saw him. And even if I wouldn't have, basically all they did with him was run these little shallow crosses with him in front of the linebacker in 7-on-7. And about the time he hit full speed, you throw it to him and just watch him outrun people on the edge. I mean, this is a sport where you really only have to get a hand on somebody, and people were struggling. Dylan Edwards is explosively fast. I mean, just one of those guys, when you're out there watching all these good athletes, I mean, Micah Tees was out there, Jalen Stanford from Jinx, and you're watching all these really good athletes, and you're like, that guy runs different than everybody else out here. You knew he was pretty special. So definitely undersized. I mean, there is no question. You don't see him as a 25 carry, pounded up the middle kind of guy. That's not going to be his game. But in a lot of the ways that OU had planned to use, let's be honest, a guy like Raleek Brown, that's a lot of the same stuff you're going to do with Dylan Edwards. Now, he's not as big and developed as Raleek was, but he is, has that same sort of twitchy explosion. So I liked a lot of what I saw. He's clearly a skilled pass catcher. He's worked a lot in 7-on-7. He knows how to do all that. There's plenty to like there. Like I said, you can see what it is that attracted Oklahoma, and that's just a chance to be a difference maker with his speed.
Any concern that he didn't show up for the March 5th junior day when he said he would? That's
not the vibe I got, because I can tell you he was joking around with me. When I first noticed him, I turned my camera on and started taking pictures, and he starts joking like, no pictures, no pictures. Well, as he's waving at me with his hand, he's got OU gloves on. So, I don't think there's any big concern. Like I said at the time, I think there is a numbers game having to be decided on, and what is Trey Wisner going to do? And it's not Wisner, it's Wisner. I've been saying it wrong. Apology to Trey, his mama, the whole family. So, but just talking to some people, it just feels like those guys are kind of similar. Trey is a bigger guy. I wouldn't say they're carbon copies by any stretch, but their roles would be fairly similar. And does Oklahoma want to have a couple of guys like that? Or, how do they see that playing out? Because last year, obviously, they landed two, more guys that are kind of every down type backs with Sawchuk and Barnes. So maybe they can, argue that, okay, Edwards and Wisner are both going to be our change of pace, and they can go that way at it. But I think that decision's being made. I think they're not trying to rush into, something we've seen OU do in recent years where they say, oh, no, we don't want that guy. We're going to focus on this guy and then run the risk of losing that guy. So I think they're just kind of playing it in the middle for right now.
All right. I want to hit a couple things that we missed being able to talk about last week. And Bob, we'll start with you because you were at the Regents meeting when the new salaries were released. The stuff that's interesting, I think to a lot of people, how much the Soul guys are getting paid. Pretty good gig if you can get it. And then, the Todd Bates situation with his contract.
Yes.
And then just generally overall, you get the official announcement of Brent Venables' contract in some of the new coaches.
Yeah, and Joe Castiglione very open and saying that we were going to expand the support staff anyway. This isn't a reactionary. I think that's what he's trying to keep telling. This wasn't a reactionary move to what Lincoln, leaving. It's like, oh, we got to support, Brent Venables with more guys. No, this was going to be the plan, according to Joe, going into the offseason. Anyway, if Lincoln was still there, that was still going to be the plan.
Lincoln's still an asshole.
Yeah, to try to get it ready for the SEC, and that's what we all know about. We asked Joe Harris and Josie anything new there. Nothing. They're still talking about 2025, and Josie started talking. Now you start adding in BYU in 2023, and then 2024 with Houston and Cincinnati, UCF. So now schedules are starting to become a real headache for everyone. They have no idea how they're going to do football. Obviously, you can't do a round robin in basketball now either. So I no idea how that's going to shake out. But going back to the contracts, the Todd Bates one, and obviously Miguel Chavis stands out at $600,000 per year for first year position coach, but we knew about that in January, so I wasn't as blown away by that one. But Todd Bates being so low initially, someone mentioned there might have been a buyout involved. I could see that. I could see if you had to pay out the buyout to bring Todd there, because he jumps up more than $200,000 in the second year of his 3-year deal. And that's just not something you ever see with an OU contract. But you see the defensive staff, Jay Valai, Bates, Chase, Davis, they are absolutely willing to fork over the dough to make this happen.
They do not care.
$600,000.
I know. By the way,
That's
they don't.
insane.
We're not asking them to care.
Like,
if you hear that hammering in the background, it's just
putting an office together.
Yeah, no big deal.
No big deal.
No big deal.
$600,000. I do wonder, like, what that structure of Todd Bates' salary, why it's like that. I know that we don't have any answers right now.
It is weird. Like,
I don't know anything about contracts either.
You're throwing $100,000 at Caleb Kelly, who's, I don't know it's like
it was Ryan Young and Curtis Lofton. For Kelly and Josh Norman were not on that list. I'm not sure what that means for them going, moving forward.
Moving forward, yeah.
But as for last week, they were not on the scheduled list.
Well, I can't make heads or tails of it. I don't know why they would do that, or
like why the incentive to is it a situation of, okay, you're going to take more responsibility after year one within the defense for Todd Bates? It's so weird. I just don't know how contracts work like that.
When someone mentioned buyout, that stood out because Clemson was going to offer $750K is what Todd was going to make with Clemson.
Reportedly, yeah.
Yeah. So if you say you had to pay out like $300,000 or something, then you're paying them $440, or you had to pay out $200,000, and then you're taking that buyout money.
Oh, you's having to pay Clemson the buyout over there.
Maybe.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
maybe.
I see what you're saying.
Yes.
That could make sense.
And then,
that could definitely be a possibility.
And so that would have worked into his contract, but now, so then it jumps up because then there's no buyout for the second year. Clearly.
But it is, and you wrote about it, but just the cost of doing business that OU, I think fans have to be ecstatic when they see that like, okay, now OU is in the game. They understand how it's played. They're willing to throw a bunch of money around. Like, it's so good to see for most people.
It is.
And I don't know if it's gotten enough attention, really.
It is. And then they were confused about DeMarco Murray. And I don't remember who brought it up. There was a great point based on salaries of a running backs coach versus a defensive line coach. And that made a great point as to why DeMarco's only at $400 and Miguel is at $600. And Murray got the biggest raise. The rest of the retaining coaches only got a $10,000 raise. DeMarco got a $50,000 raise. So it's not like he wasn't rewarded, but that only puts him at $400. Compared, to all those defensive guys that are making a lot more than that besides Brandon Hall, who now is at $300, even though he's got a lot of experience to fall back on. So that
but he was at places like Troy.
Exactly.
And, not Blue Bloods or anything. DeMarco can just sell a Patek Philippe or something. He'll be all right. He's probably got some AP sitting around.
And now,
yes,
they're all through 2024. That's another thing that was established. None of them will be up in 2023. They're all through 2024.
And just kind of wrap it all into, some of the stuff that happened the day or the same day during the pro day was just the fact, and you wrote about it this as well, Bob, just how much, and Isaiah talked about it, Perrion Winfrey talked about it, like the staff made a pretty instant first impression on the returning pro day participants.
It's what you had to write about because it almost sounds so ridiculous, pro day being that close to the combine, because I'm sure those guys were exhausted training for the combine, so I didn't have nothing left to give on pro day, and a lot of them didn't do much. So get them to hear what they think about Venables and direction of the program and the quotables that those guys gave out. Really appreciate it. It's like they knew exactly what we were looking for. But between Isaiah, Perrion, Jeremiah, Marquise Hayes talking about Schmitty, there was some really good stuff there.
Yeah, that was I particularly would have loved to have seen Perrion Winfrey go off on Alex Grinch, but I could also see that in a situation of don't stand up there and say anything stupid.
Yeah.
Just keep your body and nose clean throughout the next couple months much as possible.
Especially when you haven't worked out.
Right.
You ran 140, and that's all he's been able to do.
And then he got hurt. Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he's doing rehab, if he's planning on having personal workouts. He said he'd work it out with his agents, but I haven't heard anything suggesting that he's working hard towards personal workouts and things.
There was nothing to really come out of that was the biggest story from pro day, wasn't it?
LaRon Stokes is the only guy that had a chance to go out there and do anything that no one had seen. Mm-hmm. So and everybody rallied around him, said how good they thought he had of a day. Jeremiah Hall ran faster than he did at the combine, which he wanted to do. Some guys did some shuttle drills. Some guys reran their 40. A lot of guys lifted because they didn't do that at the combine. But I mean, it was all about positional. I mean, all the guys that were healthy went through their positional drills, and it was interesting seeing JP Lossman out there throwing the football too.
He can still sling it a little bit.
He can, dude.
I kind of forgot that he's over here as a analyst until I saw him again, and it's like it was still one of those things. Like, okay, who is this?
Yeah,
JP Lossman. Oh yeah, that's right.
And it was like, but he looks like he's 40. Like, I mean,
yes, he looks like he's his age.
He's in great shape.
Yeah,
but he looks like an older guy. And oh my God, he can sling the football. Look at that throw to Mike Woods.
And he was at Clemson, right? He was at Clemson with some of those guys, and then he came over in the big move.
I was hoping maybe Dylan would be the quarterback, but
yeah, I was
JP.
too. Because you can do that, but
we had Charleston Rambo, of course, with Kyler. So yeah,
I forgot about that.
It's new rules now. You can do that.
Yeah, that was crazy. No, it was It's kind of like it's the same thing, and it's going to be firing up here, and we'll probably reconvene at the end of the week and do kind of a spring football preview-ish type pod. But
we promised you 2 pods after not doing one last week, so we've got this one, and then Thursday we're going to have another pod. So.
Everybody is out on spring break, but it's just continued positivity from the new coaching side of things.
But the great news is when they get back, we got spring football.
Yeah, spring football starts next week. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about that, and then obviously with the April 23rd spring game coming up. It's kind of right around the corner. I mean, less than a month away, so it should be good.
There is no concert. I did ask Joe.
Oh, really?
I go, are you done with concerts? Like for this year, there was no concert, but I'm not closing the book on it.
Yeah, he said something like, didn't he say I forgot how he worded it, but he's like, we're not going to put up with bullshit like that now that pussy Lincoln Riley's out of here. I forgot how he said that. I don't think it was verbatim, but
paraphrasing that one.
Yeah, I think so.
It's like whatever will make the experience more enjoyable, they're opening toward listening about. But the concert
I think it's going to be
was not something.
I think it's going to be a great turnout. Like I still think it's going to be as close to a quote unquote sellout as you can get. I mean, they still get 50-something thousand, but still.
I mean, that's what Brent's going to be pushing all through spring practice. So every time he talks to the media, he's going to be demanding that people sell out the stadium.
No doubt.
Which isn't a bad idea. I mean,
no. Well, and I think that why wouldn't people come if it's nice out to see Dylan Gabriel for the first time?
Statue.
The Baker stuff, like there's still going to be a lot of draws that you don't like. I think it would be a sellout regularly. But now with all the added kind of questions that are going into the spring, it's certainly going to be kind of an exciting weekend in Norman.
And being later, maybe the weather will be nicer. Because it feels it's at least 1 week.
Oh, it's usually 1 week.
2 weeks even later.
It's usually 1 week difference.
Yeah. How are you going to handle this? You're going to be able to watch the Masters.
It's going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be beautiful.
That's like your biggest gripe about the spring. Every year.
I have no gripes. It is that night, the Saturday night of the Masters that weekend. It's going to be kind of interesting. I'm emceeing a Heritage Hall. Their big fundraiser at Oklahoma City Golf Country Club. So we'll see. I'm going to raise $100,000 probably.
Humble brag.
Yeah, that's about it. I support the private schools.
Josh, are you still with us, or do you?
No, I'm still here.
Oh, okay, there he is.
Josh, this will be something I'll probably ask Brent, but do you have an idea? Do you think he's going to go all in with a spring game recruiting weekend?
That is the impression I have, because there are several guys who have talked about coming in for the spring game or spring practices, stuff like that. Like, I think that, and that is something that was done at Clemson. That was one of their big visit weekends, was usually what was the spring game. That was one of their big kind of events. And what I understand, kind of their last big event before their summer event, which I guess we really haven't talked about. I mentioned it in some stories last week. It looks like they're going to continue the barbecue tradition.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
And probably do something on June 3rd.
Which is interesting.
June 3rd weekend.
Yeah, because that's the same weekend as the elite camp, too. And we know Brent said you got to come to campus. So it sounds like that all tie in together. I wonder if those barbecue kids would stay in camp too, or if they're just going to be on visits.
You've got to know that's what he's hoping, because unlike the former staff that's like, it's just cool to come hang out, Brent wants you to work. Like, there's no doubt he wants to go look you over, especially, any defensive guys. He's going to want to watch those guys close, because that's just who he is.
My God, now we have to find out if Travis can be Brent's chef of choice for the Tomahawks.
Oh, we need to check on that.
Indeed.
Yeah,
Travis, go to work. Go to work, son.
And
I guarantee he won't steal your smokers like that other guy.
I bet Venables knows his way around a smoker.
We need to get a Brent brisket. I'll talk to him about that.
I bet he could. That'd be awesome.
We need to
Like Brent to do one or Travis to do one?
No, Brent to do his own brisket.
Brent to do the brisket.
Oh, and then put it out there?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Talk about just
Woody,
putting the knife into the back.
I'm going to give you a call. We're going to get this happening.
That could be a Scoop HD feature, Cooking with Coach.
We got room in here now.
Oh, we want to do it here on on the campus corner?
Set?
Yeah, hell yeah. I like that.
We can live pod. We'll do YouTube. We'll do the whole thing. We'll make it work.
Yes.
All right,
It'll be Laney's first Instagram post from Cooking with Coach.
I know what will sell Brent. If he'll come and do it at our offices, I'll come up. I'll be there.
All right. There we go.
I'm down. So, all right. Anything else you guys want to throw out? Obviously, Jocelyn Alo,
Yeah, I was gonna
congratulations.
say, congratulations
on a
to her. That was
home
pretty
run
cool.
record, finally.
And that was one of those that, that was a no-doubter.
Yeah.
That ball got over the plate, and she absolutely hammered that thing.
Appreciated the picture with her tweet.
Is there any, belief that, how perfect is it she does it in Hawaii?
Yeah, it was just, it was setting.
It was kind of storybook, the way that it all finished. And,
happening at midnight.
Yeah, it was so late. Obviously there was nobody that missed it if you're, kind of keeping a track on that. But
it's a massive time change, yeah.
It was kind of storybook the way that thing came, because I'm pretty sure when Patty Gasso recruited her to OU, that was one of the things that she was like, we're going to get a game in Hawaii. But as it turns out, nobody thought that she was going to be able to play in that game because of she was going to have graduated early, and then she took advantage of the extra year because of COVID. It all kind of the stars aligned on that for her to be able to break it in front of her home fans, or hometown and friends and family and all that kind of stuff. So that was cool. Well, and they're 20-0. They just continue winning.
I think we can take Thursday probably to get a little baseball update from you.
It was just announced OU Texas series is gonna move this year to Globe Life, and I think that it's for this year. April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, but it could be something that they look at in the future of going down there and kind of playing a Red River thing down in Arlington.
Was this one in Norman?
Yeah, it was in Norman, so people are going to be pissed off about that. But
they're not going to like that.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is what it is. It's something that I think both schools were approached about, and they want to be able to do it. So, it's going to be kind of interesting to see if this is something that sticks for 1 year, or is it going to be something that they try to do year after year. So
that part of Dallas has been the closest thing to Orlando near us, though.
DFW,
just where the ballpark
Arlington
is. Yeah,
I think there's some type of WWE event down there that weekend as well.
WrestleMania.
I think WrestleMania is in Arlington.
Just upset the Bob.
Yeah. I think WrestleMania is down there in the same area that weekend.
Two-night event.
Should be interesting to see what is it at Jerry World?
Yeah.
Oh boy, so that's going to be interesting.
Bob's having a rough day. We got to take it easy on him today. There's been a tragedy in the WWE family.
Razor Ramon, Scott Hall.
What happened?
He had hip surgery last week and had complications from it with a blood
so
clot.
Scary.
And he's on life support.
Oh, wow.
And his best friend, Kevin Nash Diesel, said that once Scott Hall's family is all arrived, they will take away the life support. And
damn, so he died after having hip surgery.
Yeah.
Dick Shapp had the same thing happen to him.
Who?
Dick Shapp.
Oh, it's the same surgery?
Well, he had hip surgery and he died. It's pretty common. Infections are really a scary thing with
crazy.
Hip surgeries.
Damn, I didn't know that.
Now, Hall should have died many times in the last 20 years for his alcohol, drug abuse, but it ends up being a random, routine surgery that ends up doing it.
Well, unless he didn't kill his family like Kevin Benoit.
All right. So,
Now,
Josh,
Carrie, will we
Factually
have
true.
a TV to watch the tournament for Thursday's pod?
I'm hoping so. I have to call back Cox again because they canceled 3 appointments and then they said, okay, your next appointment's on the 25th. I was like, that's not going to do it. And they're supposed to call me, and they never did. So, but that's where the TV will be, right there on that wall that I'm looking ahead of. So that's why they're drilling into walls, because they have to move things. So, all right. Well, sorry for some of the technical glitches. We're kind of on our road system today, and we hadn't had it hooked up in a while. So hopefully it sounds close to normal. But this is only going to get better here in the podcast. It was kind of nice to sit here, and we're nice and far apart, and we want to kill each other. It's going to take a couple of steps. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And
it was good.
Building this thing up, and we'll have I'll get some photos out there. I've kind of been sending some here and there.
We need to have like it was cribs.
Yeah.
You'd have the SoonerScoop cribs.
Well, hello.
Yeah, like a show you around type thing.
And then we can tell people to get the hell out when we're done.
Exactly.
So
we'll go upstairs. We'll knock on Zach's office door.
Yeah, we
or
can
something.
we can do that. All right. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be back again Thursday for another pod. Get you caught up on some spring sports stuff and all the latest with OU football's spring break will be nearing an end, and we'll be getting ready to give you full spring football coverage. So really looking forward to that. Thanks to Dead Soxy. Also, don't forget Isaiah Thomas's merch still for sale. We still have some in stock. Doing great things for the community in Tulsa. Go check it out at SoonerScoopStore.com. Still have we're fully stocked now on hats, so go check them out, SoonerScoopStore.com, and more merch to come, and more NIL to come as well. I know people are curious about when we'll start the next round, including Isaiah. He's like, who are you getting next? So all of that to come. But thanks for listening. We'll see you guys back here again later on this week, right here on the Unofficial 40 podcast from SoonerScoop.com.